toxic and narcissistic relationships. I help them get out. I help them change jobs and their support system and, just the whole shebang. I do Asian medicine and body-mind science. And we put these together, add a little bit of shamanic work, and we put it together to help you get a really great foundation so you can make the best decisions for your life, no matter what your situation is. You're able to come from a clear place of strength and understanding and compassion and really be the driver of your own ship, the captain of your own ship. And that's the core. So today we're going to be talking about self-sabotage. So first of all, my interpretation of self-sabotage. Self-sabotage is when we have memories, traumas, nervous system reactions, chemical imbalances, ideas, experiences that cause us to make choices which are not in alignment with where we want to go, with who we want to be, with the person that we want to be. And so a lot of those, I'd like to say, you don't know what you don't know. So self-sabotage basically is you not knowing a bunch of things and instead responding or reacting to the beliefs and ideas and traumas and overwhelm and triggering. Those are the things that make the decisions, not a bigger, healthier, more balanced perspective, which you were never taught. So I'll give a good example of self-sabotage. I had very poor social and relationship skills. I knew how to treat other people really well, but I didn't know how to have intimacy or closeness. And a big piece of that was because I was scared of everybody. I couldn't let myself be close to people because they were always dangerous to me. And so my radar was always up, looking for the things that would tell me to protect myself. And I would protect myself in a variety of ways. I either wouldn't show up, or I'd be overly something, overly happy or overly aggressive, or I would, the energy coming off of me would make other people nervous and then they would avoid me, all sorts of stuff like that. So the trauma and the memories and the reactions that I had and the beliefs that I carried were not allowing me to have relationships or make different choices or find out a bigger reality. Let's say the metaphysical rules of how the world works. It kept me stuck in the fears and the ignorance and the pain of the people that had imprinted on me, whether it was my culture or whether it was my family, whatever it might be. So there's a lot of beliefs that we carry that have been passed down from generation to generation. And since I mainly work with women, I only work with women, one of the main beliefs that women carry is that their voice does not matter. Period. End of sentence. Their voice does not matter. Now, in a large community, in a large society like we're in, we're seeing a lot of evidence of that lately. We're looking around and women are still trying to get headway and get traction. And in hundreds of thousands, if not millions of cases, women's voices are not heard. They aren't valued or respected. And no matter what we try to say, it's ignored and not heard. So that belief that my voice isn't going to be heard, usually caused by a trauma or an experience that we had that we were younger when our voice wasn't heard and there was a lot of emotion around it, means that we're on the lookout. We're interpreting things. Our filter, our subconscious, is looking for things that say, aha, this is the same situation. You aren't safe. Your voice isn't going to be heard. You need to respond in some way, either by running away or acting aggressively or arguing for your right, or, mediating and hoping that, somehow maybe, it'll work. And all of those things on an energetic level won't work. So there's a sweet spot in everything in life. There's the extreme to the right, there's the extreme to the left, and then there's a sweet spot where the work happens, where the magic happens. It's just challenging enough. It's just on the edge. It's just a little bit uncomfortable. It's just a little bit of a reach, but it's not so overwhelming that you fall back into your pain and your trauma. So you actually can work with changing these beliefs, and it happens in that sweet spot, in the spot that isn't overreactionary of, I'm going to walk in there, I'm going to tell him exactly what I think, I'm going to tell him exactly what's going on, versus, and then on the other end is the, my God, it's never going to work, why do I bother, what's the point, nobody ever listens anyways. Those are the extremes. There's actually a space in the middle where there are people who value your voice. There are people who will listen to what you have to say. And when these people, you and these other people, come together, then you start to create a bigger energy. You start to create a bigger movement. Things start to change on a bigger level. This is what they mean when they say change has to happen within you first, and then you start to see it ripple out into the world. That's what it means. So if you're coming from a place of trauma and overreaction, either way to the right or way to the left, you are self-sabotaging yourself, because believing unequivocally that your voice doesn't matter will keep you looking at and reacting to situations as if your voice doesn't matter. And you miss the experiences where you could have communicated and your voice would have made an impact. You missed the experiences where you could have recognized or seen that someone has the ability to listen to you. You would have missed these opportunities where you could have proved to yourself that your voice matters, and you would have seen that it matters, because our own beliefs, our own fears and anger and hurt and anxiety and radar told us to, run away. In reality, a lot of us have issues. A lot of us have our own reactions and responses, but that doesn't mean that we don't value other people's voices. It doesn't mean that other people's opinions don't matter. What it means is it's messy. When we walk into the messiness of relationship and realize that, first of all, using discernment to find people who have the potential, who don't have so many issues on the right or on the left that they're incapable, but finding the people who are more in the middle, who don't have so many issues that it hijacks them all the time, and learning that they do have some, and how to only let the people in your life that have the ability to value other people's thoughts and opinions, using your intuition, using your discernment on that, and then creating authentic experiences of working through it. A great example. A while back, a few years ago, I was doing interviews with different women in the healing professions. And we tried to do interviews with three of us, a psychic, more of an energy healer, and me, the Asian medicine body mind person. And we'd sit on the couch like The View, and chat about things. And I was, typical me, a little bit more forthright, being like, but what gives us the right to, to do these things? And I was in that vibrant, we're going to make this work. And what it did is it shifted the energy. And it created an energy of anxiety and tension for the other two women because, because I was coming in full force. And that caused a rift because of the, my energetic movement, the energy I brought to the table. One of the women was reminded of some things in her past, of abusers in her past. And she says, you know what? Because I'm reminded of the abusers of my past, by how we communicated, by the things that you said and how you said them, we're not going to work together. And I was like, oh my God, how did this happen? And I sat with it for a while, and I sat with it for a while. And I recognized that we hadn't been in alignment quite yet. It wasn't them and it wasn't me. And because we hadn't communicated enough ahead of time, you know, even though we'd known each other, my energy triggered them. And my response when someone is triggered is to withdraw, to detach, to cut things off, to, you know, I'm walking away from this. But I took that time to heal what was going on with me. And I took that time to reflect and let the emotion come down. I ran into this same woman at a conference, and I went up to her and I said, you know what? And this was months and months later. That's not how I wanted to respond. That's not how I wanted things to unfold. And I'd like to apologize for my part in this. You know, I really value what you bring to the table. And so I stepped up and I stepped in, and we were able to, from that, you know, she was a healthy enough person that we were able to come up and create some great partnerships together, you know? So my self-sabotage was my energy, my aggressiveness, my too far to the right, you know? And then when things went wrong, it was my pattern then of going too far to the left. But when you come into that sweet spot, you start to realize, oh, people have issues and challenges and bumps in the road just like me. And they have upsets, and their radar is looking for whether they're going to be safe or not. And they're reacting to things, and I'm reacting to things. And you know what? Let's look at this whole thing with a little bit more compassion, with a little bit of more understanding than I've been putting into it. Not whose fault it is, but realizing, okay, maybe we pushed the energy a little bit. And we're two human beings doing the best we know how, and how are we going to navigate it? Not everybody's like that. I'll totally give you that. Many people have a lot of wounds and they're confrontational. However, on the other hand, a lot of people aren't like that. A lot of people have some issues and their radar is going and they're looking to protect themselves and have insecurities. But if we ride the wave of it, if we realize that we get triggered, if we feel it, if we allow it to, you know, come back down, then we can heal the belief. For me, the belief was that I can't trust women. And because I can't trust women, I need to run away from them as soon as there's something that demonstrates to me that, you know, they're not trustworthy. You know, me looking for the cues, me looking for the red flags. That's the lie. The lie that everything is so polarized. The truth is that a lot of people are good people. And when we have respect and honor and care for their issues, and respect and honor and care for our issues, then we can do things where both of our voices are heard. But my reactions, my pain, my memories, my beliefs keep us from allowing the process to unfold. I liken it to a roller coaster. When somebody's triggered, when something goes wrong, they're on a roller coaster. And if you're in the way, you really are going to get flattened. You have to allow and hold some space for them to go through the whole ride of their roller coaster, you know, and for you to go through the whole ride of your roller coaster, you know, and then meet when it's done. Be supportive and present when it's done, or even while they're on their ride. If we either internally for ourselves try to stop that process of movement and healing and evolution, if we cut it off, you know, if we trap ourselves by judging, and judgmental is one of the biggest, being judgmental of ourselves or other people is one of the biggest blocks to happiness. You know, if we stop the process by being judgmental about ourselves, like I shouldn't feel this way, why is this coming up, why is this happening to me again, I'm not going to bother, I'm just going to walk away, then we don't get the full experience. We don't get the full understanding or the healing of what's happening. Instead, we still stay stuck, you know, locked into the ride, never ending, or, you know, never starting, we don't allow it to unfold. And it's our beliefs and it's our ideas and it's the things that rock solid we believe because we're frightened or we have trauma or memories around it that we've never allowed ourselves to feel. It's our nervous system reacting. It's our body flooding. It's that subconscious reaction of recreating that situation. Why do we recreate these things? We recreate them so that we have the opportunity to come up with a different ending and find out a bigger truth. And the bigger truth is, you're absolutely right. To some people, your voice does not matter. But to other people, it does. And when you believe it does, when you look for the people that, you might be able to, there's potential. And you're someone who's there's potential. And you believe that your voice matters. Then you start looking for a way and finding ways to communicate better. It's not simply a reactionary of a reminder of a fear that you had. So narcissist trauma plants nervous system reactions, emotional reactions, and beliefs in your brain that keep you trapped. And we stop the self-sabotage when we question everything. I had a wonderful mentor who would say, everything that they taught you was a lie. And so if you question everything, is this really true? Is this a balanced perspective? Is this a perspective that's coming from fear or a perspective that's coming from a place of experience? And if you don't have experience, then you get to do some tests. You get to test things out. You get to find safe, relatively safe experiences where you get to try things to see if your voice is heard. See how conflict works out. You find partners that help you heal through this and help you recognize that your traumas were based in the past. They're memories that sabotage you because they keep you trapped in fear and anxiety. And only when we start to clear the emotions, have new experiences of love and connection and peace, when we start loving ourselves more by making better decisions for our body and our mind and our relationships, when we start getting healthy habits in place that keep us on the right track, that keep us feeling good, when we do those things, that's how we change. And that's how we realize that here's one of my favorite words in the whole world. It's sometimes. Yes, sometimes people are just awful. And some people are just awful. But sometimes people are pretty great. And some people are pretty great. And they might not be great all the time, and the awful people might not be awful all the time. And so let's find some middle ground, where we can look at them and us with compassion and realize that this moment is just a sometimes. That the things that we feel are illusions. They're real to us. They really happen to us. They're real experiences we're having. But they are our perception of reality. They are not the bigger, the greater reality, which is there are kind people, there are loving people, there are smart people. You have the ability to heal. Your past doesn't have to control you. And you don't have to sabotage yourself anymore. And the way through that is by proving to yourself and proving your subconscious and all of that the negative beliefs that you hold are not true. They just don't exist. They exist somewhere, sometimes in the right situations, but not all the time. And so we look for the opportunities where our voices will be heard or are heard. We look for the people who have the ability to hear us, even though they've got their own issues and their own roller coaster ride they're going on. Okay? So here's your homework assignment today. I want you to find something that's a little bit out of your comfort zone. I want you to write down some beliefs that you have that seem powerful, like I can't trust women, everybody's out to get me, my voice doesn't matter, no one can see me, things like that. Write them down. And then I want you to come up with a little bit of an experiment. Give yourself some space with it. If it goes wrong immediately, don't fret, because there's a whole roller coaster ride involved, not just the first, bump or the first big drop, and give yourself some space to test it out. Don't test it out on something big. You'll fail, you'll get pissed off, you'll get overwhelmed. Test it on something small. Test it on, somebody who you pass on the street, an acquaintance, somebody who you know is pretty nice, relatively nice, and start trying out some of your ideas or beliefs or tools to see if you can trust people, to see if people can listen to your voice and hear you, and what communication styles you need to have in order to help the people around you hear you better. You get to play with this and experiment. So list out your beliefs that you don't like, that you wish you could change, and come up with one small experiment today where you can prove yourself a greater truth. And proving to yourself those greater truths stops self-sabotage, because it's no longer your trauma, and it's no longer your memories or your child mind or your negative beliefs or the brainwave patterns that you've got that are making your decisions. They're actually made not on the past, they're made on the life you're creating for yourself now. Okay? So if you feel stuck in any of this, a couple different ways. One, I've partnered with a narcissist book, Everything You Want to Know About Narcissism. So it's a great reference manual. I do a weekly private coaching group of women around this topic, healing and coping with narcissism. Or you can work with me one-on-one. So you message me, reach out to me. Doesn't matter about your time, doesn't matter about your budget, because what we'll do is we'll come up with a plan that works for you, whether you're working with me or not. You know, who cares? It's about you getting the help you need. Some people need to, see a really competent psychologist first, or work in conjunction with it, or they need to, get together with a nutritionist first, there's all these sorts of things. So we're not looking about, when we set up a strategy call, it's about how to come up with a plan so that you at least have a roadmap for where you want to go, whether it's with me or whether it's not with me. But if it wants to be with me, then yes, I do one-on-one coaching, and I'm really nice. So I hope you have a great rest of your day, a great Friday, a great weekend, and I'll see you Monday, okay?